Greetings, greetings, greetings. What's going on, Uncommon World? This is your friend, Coach Clavon. What an honor and a distinction to be back with you on another magnificent Uncommon Monday. Man, we are going to have a great show tonight I would have to say humbly, as we always do, because we're bringing you guys some information. Information is power, and applied information can be transformational. And here we are again, bringing you the uncommon news, bringing you this uncommon world, bringing you philosophies and tips that could change your life if you pick up what we're putting down. Hey guys, let me send out a little reminder. If you are watching this episode via YouTube, please like and share and subscribe to the channel. Be a part of the family. We're not going to stop. We're going city to city, region to region, nation to nation, planet to planet, taking the uncommon principles, changing people's lives, and being a profound inspiration. So lock in and take the journey with us. And even on social media, like and share, spread the word. Okay, the Uncommon Kings are here. Tonight we have a great, great, great guest. But before I bring on our guest, I got to bring on my co-host. Okay, man of the hour. You know, my guy, a true visionary leader on a global scale. You know, I like to introduce Dan, even though he hates it because she's so humble. But I like to tell the world that this is a gentleman of integrity, a gentleman of vision, a gentleman in my industry. It's hard to find people that keep their word and that really get pleasure in empowering others. Pretty intelligent, pretty smart guy as well. And really the author behind this uncommon movement. Let me bring to the forefront Mr. Dan Putnam. Dan, how you feeling this evening, my brother?
Oh man, feel amazing. Great, great time to be alive. So many amazing things going on around the world. And you know what? It's crazy. I've been thinking so much about life and perception, and how you can basically live in the exact same place at the exact same time. And one person's like, oh man, life sucks. Everything's hard. Everything, you know. And then the other side can be like, man, life is so amazing. I can't believe I have the opportunity to experience all these things, be able to travel the entire world. Literally, I leave on Thursday, going to Kazakhstan, and that is about as far away from where I'm at as you can possibly go. With layovers, it's about a 36-hour trip. There's maybe like 2 or 3 trips anywhere in the world. I've flown all over that take more than like 30 to 40 hours with layovers. So it's about as far as you can possibly go. And I think about that. It's like, man, 2024, I'm gonna leave on Thursday with the time changes and everything. I'm gonna get there Saturday morning. And if we went back even like 100 years, I would never experience anything like that. The beautiful cultures and people and countries and foods and, you know, all of the different things out there. And so every time it just makes me think we've got a lot of work to do, because at the end of the day, success is a choice. Obviously it takes opportunity, but you literally make the decision, follow the process, and you can have the same as anybody else. But people's mindset is so poor, and they just are so victim driven that it's like everything in their life is somebody else's fault. They don't want to take any responsibility. They don't want to say that, hey, you know, it's my fault. The decisions I've made, the things that I've done over the last months, years, or decades have put me in the exact position that I'm in. But instead, everybody who's successful was lucky, or this happened or that happened. And then with them, they're a victim. Everybody screws them over, does this, does that. And so the main purpose of this podcast is to really prove that success is a process, success is a decision, and it's something that I truly believe everybody can do. And you can take ultra successful people from any walk of life that you can possibly imagine. Somebody coming in the absolutely worst condition that you could possibly be born into and end up rising to the top. And you have the opposite happen also. Somebody born with everything you could possibly imagine and they screw it up and they lose. And so both ways, that proves 100% the success is a decision. Is it easier for some than others? Possibly. Depends on, all circumstances are different. But is it possible for every single person? Yes, 100%. But it takes opportunity. It takes mentorship. It takes mindset. It takes all of these things. And that's the whole purpose, is every single Monday night, get an uncommon man on here, hear his story, and you'll start to see all of these commonalities. This is what, our 31st or 32nd episode? What episode are we on?
30, brother.
30? I thought last week was 30.
Then this would be 31. I'll do the math. I'll get us right.
But again, we've been going on, I think, our 7th month now that we've been having this going. We've had plenty of people 31. To see, are there commonalities in these successful people? And they have way more in common than not. And but again, we've had people from all walks of life, and again, we're just going to continue to show this process so that you can go back and watch these and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to find the right mentors. I'm going to find the right opportunity, create the right opportunity, and make things happen. And that's the purpose. And we're going to just, keep going, keep pushing until we help as many people as we possibly can.
Dan, 31 episodes in, bro. First, it's an honor and a distinction, to have shared this platform with you. I don't take it lightly. I don't take the mission lightly either. And, today was just a crazy day because today there was like an avalanche. We're in the service leadership business. There's a lot of people we're accountable for. I know for myself, being a team leader, I just got so many non-uncommon phone calls, like people, and some of them, unfortunately trickle up to you. And I know how frustrating it gets because a lot of people don't take responsibility. I have also, in my journey, had to learn on a higher level the importance of responsibility, and it's just amazing how important this is, because no matter where you are in your life, you need men like who we have on here. You need these situations, Dan. You need these programs, because you can fall off, whether it's with any of the pillars: your diet, your self-confidence, your ability to take responsibility, your ability to be a leader, to live by example. No matter how uncommon we are, I get reminded when I look in the mirror and when I deal with the people that I'm responsible for, how easy it is to be common.
Yeah.
To make complaints and not be grateful and not be responsible. I swear today was one of those days, bro. I'm just like, sometimes I think, if this is happening to me, what is Dan going through? I got 20 people from me. He's got 2,000 people following him.
Well, look at the Mavericks win by almost 40 the other night, and now that they're down by more than 20 at halftime. Well, I think the third quarter's probably already started. Crazy, just life.
Sure. Well, listen, let's get into tonight's episode, because one thing that I'm inspired by is we scour through the communities of the nation and we find uncommon men who are making it happen on many, many levels. And this gentleman definitely fits the description, and that's why he's here. I want to bring to the stage my guy, William. What's up, William Lou? What's going on?
How you doing, my man? How you doing, Dan? How y'all doing?
Doing awesome, man. Thank you so much.
We're so happy that you're on here, brother. We just want to have a conversation with you and got some questions for you. And again, it is, we feel blessed to have you on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And we don't know where this thing is going to go, man. We might ask you anything, but you just
I'm ready,
transparent and open as you want to be. Let's have some fun. When Dan shared with me some of your social media profiles, all I saw was, a man who is obviously serious about health, nutrition, physical fitness, being an example. Seemed like you've mastered some of the social media tricks to really brand yourself and build an audience and a following. I'm glad we're in the same, business boat, because I know I can learn from you. But can we go back to the beginning? When I say the beginning, maybe some things that inspired you. No, just a little bit about insight on your background. Let's just start there, man. Where you grew up with, maybe some things about your parents, siblings, some ups and downs that started your journey to maybe where you are now. Just give us some insight.
Well, man, that's a lot to take in. First and foremost, before I start, I want to hand it back to you all for having this uncommon episode and featuring me on your 30th or 31st episode. So I appreciate that. Hats off to Dan, the man, as I call him. Very good steward and genius when it comes to product and marketing himself. So I'm thankful to be aligned with him for this assignment. I tell people right now in this phase of my life so right now we're on assignment with this uncommon, episode, and pretty much giving the world what they need to succeed. So as far as I go, my name is William Adams. Everyone calls me Lou Fit. Lou means lifting others up. I became a personal trainer in 2013. I've been featured on American Ninja Warrior. I have a pro card in men's physique bodybuilding. My first time out amongst 150 men, I placed 5th and got a medal. So I was very proud of myself about that. I have a military background. I'm an Air Force veteran, fireman / military police, and also a speaker. And I love marketing. I have a business called Meat Enterprise, which means more exposure. But going back in the time, if you've ever seen the Stars episode, the series called Raising Canaan, it's
Absolutely.
a very yes. Well, that's like my life. My mother
cool.
was in the streets.
Okay.
We have the exact same. That whole show is like my life story. So I come from a background of hustlers. I come from a background of humble beginnings, as they say, but also a lot of high moments to where my mom made a lot of money in the streets. So with that being said, I had to see poverty. I got a chance to see wealth. I had a chance to see, obstacles. I had a chance to see, death, a lot of different things in my childhood which shaped and molded me. Never met my biological father, but I had a great dad, the man who raised me, took me in as his own. So I really have a diverse background when it comes to overall wellness and just life. I know what it's like to be harassed in the streets. I know what it's like to be pulled over, profiled. I know what it's like to deal with mental abuse, physical abuse, a lot of different things in my lifetime. I was also, how deep you want me to go? Let me ask you that before I keep going.
This is open, man. This is as deep as you
Okay.
want to go, and
Hey,
the whole concept is to motivate people, show people that, man, bad things happen, good things happen,
Yeah.
so things happen, and it's our job to just take what happens, accept it, and move on. And
Okay.
so we want to go as deep as you want to go.
All right. Well, I'll go deep. I'm not going to leave no stone unturned for the most part. Around the age of 4 to 5, I dealt with being tampered with. So I know what it likes to be dealt with as women commonly is talked about. It's not talked about amongst men. From the age of 4 to about 10, 11 years old, I had to deal with that. I know what it's like to be physically abused, mentally abused, verbally abused, sexually abused, taken advantage of in that area as well. I know what it's like to not have your mother around because my parents were separated by the age of 8, but they officially got a divorce by the age of 12. At the age of 12, I found out that my father wasn't my biological father. So that was very traumatizing for me. I've always been a different type of child. I've had a way with words ever since I could write. So I practically spent a lot of time with my little brother because my mom was in one home out in the streets, and then my dad was taking care of us. So he worked a lot. So I spent a lot of time either with my grandparents or by myself in the house and looking after my little brother, who's 2 years younger than me. So it's not that mom wasn't there on any level. We just didn't live with her. She didn't have custody of us. So when I say I know what trauma looks like, I know what abandonment feels like. And like I said, not that she abandoned us and she wasn't there at all, but when you don't live with a parent, you go through a lot of different phases, especially when your mother's not in the home with you. So with my dad not having compassion and being that type of dad, hey, let's go throw the football and this, that, and the third, I didn't have that. And I said that to say because a lot of times we'll be out there. I had to teach myself a lot of different things. I had to go outside and figure out how to play basketball. But when my mom did have us and we spent a lot of time with her, she showed us how to box. My mom was like a man and a woman. You know, she was a Layla Ali. She was in the streets. She did hair. She had a shop. I mean, this woman was the first woman I seen with gold Dayton's on her car, a lot of jewelry, just everything. She was a very flashy, stylish woman, but also she had a hard side to her. So she made sure we knew how to defend ourselves. So I grew up in the North County area, a place called Kinloch, and then we moved from Kinloch at the age of 12 to the another county area called Ferguson, where Mike Brown is from, R.I.P. to Mike Brown. So I grew up in those areas. So I got the chance to see the county, and then I had the chance to see the city. And the city of St. Louis and the county is like, you know, night and day almost. But the county is starting to be just as worse as the city is when it comes to violence and things of that nature. And if you know anything about St. Louis, it's always top 5 in most dangerous cities in the United States, always. So I come from that. So with that being said, my mom made sure that we knew how to interact with all walks of life. I don't care if it was the streets. And, you know, academically, I was making good grades. She made sure that we understood the fundamentals, ran track, box, martial arts. I really was a diverse child. So, and I was a kid that didn't like to get dirty either. So seeing my mom all flashy, I remember times where I would go outside, get dirty, and go in the house and change clothes 2-3 times a day. By the time the street lights came on, I probably had 2-3 different outfits on because I didn't want to get dirty. I was always clean watching my mom because she was like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So she always made sure presentation was very important. The first impression was very important. How you present yourself and articulate was very important. So I give a lot of my attributes and hats off to my mother. Despite the strain and the distance that we had, I still learned a lot from this woman. And my dad as well. My dad, Lee, the man who raised me, I take my hat off to him because I would be dad or fatherless, whatever you want to say, if he wouldn't have stepped up and came in my life, you know, and took that hat on and say, hey, I'm going to be this child's dad. I'm going to raise him. I'm going to show him whatever I can show him. Like I said, my dad wasn't affectionate. He was a very strong, and this is where the fitness side comes in. My mom ran track. She beat Jackie Joyner Kersey in high school before she dropped out. Yeah. And she was a boxer. And then my dad, he was a weightlifter. He played sports, and he was just a mechanic as well. He made it through high school being a mechanic with the 7th grade education. So he couldn't read that well, but he could read good enough. But because he was so gifted with fixing stuff, he fixed on buses at a tech school and graduated high school. So they kind of pushed him through because of his gift. And I'm a firm believer in the biblical text that says your gift will make my gift, literally, and his gift and my mom's gift made room for him in life. Right, wrong, or indifferent, my mom was a hustler, smart. She was intelligent. My dad was a workaholic. He was good with his hands and, you know, great with just tinkering on things. I mean, if it was a tractor, trailer, bobcat, whatever you call it, a car, an amp, a stereo, this man could fix it with, remember, a 7th grade reading capacity. But I learned that intelligence wasn't defined by the thought process. It's by your gift. Intelligence could be, somebody could be great with numbers and another person could be gifted with fashion, with designing, or whatever it may be. Your hands is still a level of intelligence in your how you discern things and process information. So like I said, coming with the background that was traumatic but also diverse, it led me down the path to be in fitness and to have a good sense of character and to be able to deal with all walks of life. So I'm a natural people person too, because I learned that from my mother when she was dealing with different clientele, whether it was in the shop or on the streets. I had to see how she interacted and how people responded to her, whether it was in a polite manner or aggressive way. So with that being said, by the time I was 12 or 13, I had seen death. I had witnessed heartbreak. I had witnessed my parents separating. I had witnessed overcoming the trauma of being abused physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually. And I was well on my way to being something totally different. As I said, a lot of people don't know what it's like to go through trials and tribulations, so they hurt themselves. You see a lot of men commit suicide, and with it being Men's Mental Health Month, you can tell that the numbers say 500 million men commit suicide and actually die from suicide every year.
Wow.
So with that being said, I'm thankful I'm not a statistic. And RIP to anyone who ever took their life or lost their life or know somebody that dealt with, suicide or took themselves out of here. But I know what it's like to think and have certain thoughts. But I'm thankful for my strength. A lot of people don't understand your name means something. My name, William, means strong-willed warrior. And I didn't know what my name meant until I was in my 20s. And then I realized, like, man, I've had this strength inside of me all this time. I've been able to endure based on what my mom named me, based on my name. Like, I'm a warrior. I know how to endure. I fight for what I want to have a willpower. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've never given up. But when fear comes, there's two things that you can do. You could forget everything and run, or you could face everything and rise. That's the acronym for fear. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. You decide. I decided that I want to rise to the occasion. So by the time I was 16, I was #1 in the state for high jump. Everything that I dealt with, I encapsulated and used that as fuel to transform myself, to be somebody that was stand out, to be that stellar athlete, to be somebody that didn't let his trauma and his trials overcome him in life. So like I said, by the time I was 12, I was #1 in the state for high jump. I was jumping at a collegiate level. I was jumping at 6'8". I did 6'10" in practice unofficially. So I had Nike people coming to my school, you know what I'm saying? Olympic athletes coming to my school to check me out. But the crazy thing is I dealt with a lot of racism in my community too. And my athletic director, he hid my college letters. So at the age of 16, a junior in high school, breaking all these records, I went undefeated and did all my workouts on my own. Back then, we didn't have YouTube. The internet was just coming about, so I couldn't Google how to high jump. I couldn't. It wasn't no tutorials. This was all off the muscle. My track coach, nobody in my school knew how to high jump. So I was self-taught with that and very flexible because I have a background in martial arts and gymnastics too. So I could tumble with the best of them, like the females out there tumbling on halftime shows. So at 6'2", 185 pounds, I was tumbling and I just had this gift of jumping. My vertical was around 48, 50 inches, believe it or not. So I was doing halftime shows during basketball games and everything. But like I said, with me going undefeated, I did not get a college. I didn't know I had college offers. Why? Because my coach was hiding my letters. It wasn't until a cheerleader stumbled upon going into his office, the administration office, and seen some mail with my name on it that I realized that I had been recruited. Not by one college, majority of every D1 and Ivy League you can name in the United States, from Georgetown, KU, Murray State, Cornell University, a lot of different Kansas. Everybody was recruiting me for high jump, and I didn't know it. Sad to say, I didn't make the grades my senior year. I gave up. Why? Because I was going so hard. My junior, my sophomore year, my freshman year, I was on varsity all 3 years. And I felt like I had wasted my time. I'm like, man, I went undefeated. I'm breaking all these records. I'm #1 in the state. I got these trophies and medals. Nobody's looking at me. Lord behold, they were. But a lot of times in life, the enemy will try to sabotage you and take yourself like you're less than, make you feel like nobody's watching you. But that's the time that you put the pedal to the metal and keep going. Be persistent, be consistent. And as Dan speaks about in a lot of things, non-negotiable. I didn't have a non-negotiable at 16. So I lacked the wherewithal and the mentality to keep pressing forward no matter what it looked like. So I stopped doing the schoolwork. I stopped showing up in class. I stopped just giving a care or giving a damn, as we say. So come to find out, I was ineligible to defend my state championship because I didn't make grades. So that was very traumatic for me. So what did I do? Me being a Gemini as well, I know how to reinvent myself. I'm very outgoing. I'm an introvert and an extrovert. So what I did was I just took on the school spirit. I wanted to motivate people who didn't have that motivation. I wanted to encourage people to keep going in some shape, form, or fashion. So what I did, I started doing halftime shows. I started going to all the games. I started tumbling. I became a mascot. I did whatever I could do to still show people like it don't stop there. I found a recruiter and I signed up for the Air Force. So after I graduated school, when I graduated, I was voted most school spirit, sexiest legs, #2, and best handwriting, and class clown, actually. So it was a diverse awards going around when it came to me for that. But I didn't want to be a failure. So after high school, I went to the Air Force. I said, shit, I missed my call with the Olympics and things of that nature with track, unbeknownst to me. But I didn't let that hinder me. So I kept a shoebox full of all of my letters and trophies and everything to remind people later in life. Fast forward, after going to the military, I became a trainer in 2013. I had my daughter. Me and her mother was no longer together. I moved out of the home and I found myself living in my mother's basement at 26, 27 years old, trying to figure it out again with my daughter being 1 year old. I'm like, what am I going to do? What type of example am I going to be for her? Finding a way to reinvent myself yet again and keep pushing when life hits you. So I enrolled into college, went to school for personal training. And then next thing you know, a month or two in, my tuition went up. Now, being a military veteran, a lot of people can attest to not having the military supports you like you wanted to. So I didn't have the benefits of using my GI Bill, and I didn't have disability kicking in yet because the military kept denying me access and kept saying that they lost my medical records because I was medically discharged from the military. So I couldn't afford to pay for college on my own. So I had a gambling addiction at the time. So any money that I got in, I was going to the casino trying to flip it. And it was run for about a year. I had a great run, making $1,000, $2,000 a week. And then, like I said, when my daughter was getting ready to turn 2, I went on a real bad losing streak. I took my first school refund check and I went to the casino. And guess what? I lost it all. I lost it all, every dime. And I couldn't even help my mother pay rent. I went downstairs after the casino. Now, remind you, I took her car to the casino. I couldn't even put gas in it leaving the casino because I had spent and lost all of my money on that boat. And I had to tell her I couldn't help her. I had to tell her I lost every dime. And I remember sliding down the wall in the basement, and I had a futon down there. And I had this pole. I had a wooden pole, and I had 2 cinder block bricks on each side that I used to work out with because I couldn't afford the real weights at the time. And I just found myself lifting and doing push-ups and just crying and all of this. And that was how I was channeling my anger. I used fitness. I used that to get that aggression out of me and to get over it. I started praying, and I was like, man, I'm in school now. What am I going to do? Tuition goes up. So guess what? I drop out of school, but I did something. I actually stole my textbook. I paid for them, so I took them. They wanted me to turn them back in, but I kept those NASM books. I kept all the personal training books, and I brought them home. And I could just remember the scripture hitting me, study, get to know the word for yourself. And then I also remember my mom telling me to study and show thyself approved. So I started studying that book despite me dropping out of college or whatever for personal training. And I went online. Facebook was starting to pop and boom, but nobody was using it for business. So I had Instagram and I had Facebook. I said, you know what? I'm going to put a post up saying, I'm a train for free. Meet me at the park. So it was a park about 2-3 miles away from my house where I live with my mom. So I put that post up and I went to the park. Probably about 3-4 people showed up at the time. I train them. I run back home. I did this for about 3 weeks. By the time the third week came, I had a nice crowd. So one of the ladies had witnessed me running home in the rain. So the next session, because I did sessions on like a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I think it was. It was like 3 days out the week. And I had them broken apart like that. So she seen me running, and she came to me after training one day, and she was like, "Hey, Will, I noticed you were running in the rain. You not have a car?" I was like, "Well, no, I don't have a car, but it's all good." She was like, "Well, you know what, Will, I'm going to take you home." So she took me home that day. The next day, she started taking up tips for me at the next training session. So she had told everybody what was going on. She didn't really put my business out there. She was like, Will is helping us transform. He's helping us with our life, you know. So I think it's only right that we tip him something. So she started getting tips for me. And my clientele grew at that park. I probably had 20, 30 people coming out to those park boot camp sessions every other day. And fast forward, it's like 2014, Planet Fitness opens in St. Louis in a nice area. So I go up there, I sign up. The doors weren't even open yet. They just had a little trailer out front. They were taking sign-ups and pre-sign-ups and stuff like that. So I go sign up. I catch the bus up there, actually. Put $2 or whatever the fare was. I catch the bus up there. I sign up, and I catch the bus back home. Planet Fitness opens, and I had all of my clients sign up for Planet Fitness. So Planet Fitness was a non-judgment zone. So you couldn't be in there doing your extra bodybuilding stuff and all of that grunting and groaning in Planet Fitness, because they hit the little lunk bell or whatever it is and they ring it. So I got all my clients to sign up. I had about 30 signups. So the manager starts harassing me at the Planet Fitness because he sees me training. You're not supposed to be training. So I said, well, no, I'm not training. I said, I'm assisting people who have memberships and just showing them a better way to use it and doing drills. So it's like, oh, you're a smart ass. I'm like, no, I'm not being smart. Like, really, that's what I'm doing. I said, but if you go check the file, I do have a black card. So I do have the right and the capacity to come in here and with a guest if I want to, or even if they're not, even if they're members, I have the right to show somebody how to do an exercise properly. So I was talking my way out of this issue. About 2 weeks later, one of the other managers come up to me and say, hey, I heard that you're being harassed by the other manager. What's going on? So I tell them, and so they pull the other manager to the side and they say, leave him alone. And he was like, why? They said, this man really should be getting referral fees because he's brought in a lot of clientele and people come in here looking for him. You're going to run off good business, so leave the man alone. A month or two later, I end up getting seeing an audition for American Ninja Warrior. So I felt in my spirit, I'm like, man, I think I could do this. Matter of fact, I know I can do this. I climb on shit all the time. I'm climbing up basketball goals, literally. Like I would climb. If a ball got stuck in the gym, I'd jump and dunk on a rim, climb up the side, grab the back rails, and climb all the way to the top of the rafters and get the ball down and shimmy on back down. Like I had crazy grip and hand strength, and I could pull myself up on anything. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I end up sending in a video to American Ninja Warrior, and they liked it. So they called me back. They went on my social media at the time. It wasn't monetized, and that wasn't even happening at that moment. I probably had about 5,000 or 6,000 followers on there, and then I had another 5,000 on Facebook. So between Instagram and Facebook, I was at about 10K followers back then. So that was a lot of followers and a lot of ears. So they were like, we want you to make one more video, but talk about yourself. So I edited, I shot, chopped, did my whole video presentation all over again. I'm doing backflips and climbing up stuff. I'm doing jumping over cars, doing all kind of crazy acrobatics. And they're like, damn, you like, yeah, we want you. We want you on this show. And at the time I was bodybuilding. So I was 210 pounds. I was 210 and about 4 or 5% body fat. So I was ripped and just massive looking. So a lot of people thought I played in the NFL and shit like that. Every time I go out, they'd be like, man, who you play for? And I just be like, I say, I train the players. I just say something just to, keep the conversation, at a bare minimum. And so fast forward, I go on American Ninja Warriors 2015, and it blows up. It goes crazy. So when they come film me, I walk through the Mike Brown Memorial. This is around that time that Ferguson is on fire. All chaos and hell is breaking loose in the city of St. Louis, all behind this Mike Brown situation that very few people know what really happened. The man actually went to the store the day before to purchase some cigarillos to smoke. And his friend was the owner's son or nephew or whatever, and he worked at the store. So he kept the cigarillos behind the counter for him to pick up the next day after school. So the day that Mike Brown was actually killed, that video clip shows him being aggressive with the owner of the store because the owner didn't know that those cigarillos behind the counter were already paid for. So a narrative was spent and made him look like he was bullying, he was aggressive, he was a thug, but the man had already paid for him a day before. And he lost his life over a misunderstanding. And so I took that to heart. I started rallying up in Ferguson. I would go down to the riots and all the different things that I could possibly go to. And I turned in overdrive on training. I'm like, I'm going to give back to the community even more. I'm going to train more people. I'm doing more free stuff. I want to give back because I understand where the mind goes, the body follows. If you have your good mentality, if your health is intact, you can think better. You can make better decisions. You're more disciplined. So I understood that from the military, from my high school training, from boxing, my mom. I just understood certain principles that if you have certain disciplines about yourself when it comes to your body and your finances, like your mind is very sharp. So I started doing that. And when I walked through that Mike Brown Memorial, I got so many DMs from the people watching American Ninja Warrior about me being from Ferguson. It was crazy. Geraldo Rivera even messaged me. He reached out to me. He was like, man, how'd you make it out of there? Like, what? I said, hey, man, this is not Iraq. You know, this is where I'm used to be. This is just St. Louis. It's Ferguson. It's not as bad as you think. And majority of the people who are doing the looting and all the other stuff weren't even from Ferguson. We're outsiders doing all this crazy stuff and burning stuff down. I said people were just want to be angry about something, you know. So throughout that whole event of me being on American and Ninja Warrior and having my gym numbers grow through the roof, because I had a gym in the hood. Literally, when I say the hood, my gym was in the hood. So I was scared to have any clients that wasn't from the hood to come to my gym because I didn't know if their car get broken to or whatever. So I'm like, man, but after American Ninja Warrior, I had every walk of life, every ethnicity, every background showing up to my gym. And I did my best to make sure that they were secure and safe when they were there. And I mean, my wife would put my uniform on and she walked through an airport or somewhere and they'd be yelling, Lou Fitness, chasing her down, you know, just to ask who I am because the story just was so powerful. And I was pretty much the first person to get disqualified. I didn't fall in the water. I didn't mess up. I hit an out of bounds mark on Ninja Warrior and got disqualified for touching the out of bounds mark. So I really knew I could have won and went far on that show if I'd have knew those boundaries were. But man, my life has been a roller coaster ride. And I'm just thankful. If it wasn't for the different traumatic experiences, you know, I tell people all the time, pain builds character. What you go through grows you. What don't kill you will build you. And it will also heal you. If you don't have stretch marks after you're working out and you're growing, like childbirth, if you don't have something that shows that you went through something, you don't have growth. So that's what made me who I am today. I'm still overcoming a lot of different things. Fast forward, my daughter is 12 years old, beautiful, tall, you know, athletic, model looking girl. I'm married, but I'm separated and I'm dealing with that right now. I won't say dealing. Let me change my verbiage. I'm growing through that right now. So for everybody out there that's listening, your words matter.
Wow.
Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So with that being said, if God created the world from beginning to end with using his words, I think we need to watch how we speak. So when I listen to Dan, and how I met Dan was through the network direct sales marketing space, man. This guy always kept phenomenal products. So, and I listened to him talk. He watches his words. He's very strategic how he says stuff. And the guy really ever gets mad. I've never seen this man pissed. I've never heard him curse. I've never, seen him get out of body with anybody. So, I can respect that because that's pretty much how I am. If I get mad, you really did something. Like you really did something. But I still watch my words because life and death is in the power of the tongue. We speak those things that aren't as though they are. It's what the Bible says. A lot of people don't know, and I'm going to share today, that I have a theology background. I went to school for theology too for a short while, and life coaching as well. So I understand, faith without works is dead and all of that. Like, that is very true. And a lot of times us as men, we don't understand faith on a different level because a lot of us really haven't compartmentalized the things that we go through. So a lot of us waver in faith. As you can see, a lot of the suicide rate is high, like I spoke about. And it's one thing I learned from direct sales that I want to hit on is that Monday is the highest rate for people to stress out, freak out, and go through a lot of opposition in life. Why? Because so many people are employed. So many people are going on jobs that don't serve them, but they're serving the job. People are going into situations that they don't want to be in. So suicide rate is high on Mondays. A lot of domestic violence happens on Mondays. A lot of bad things happen on a Monday because it's the start of the week, but also a reminder of a place where people don't feel comfortable or they don't thrive in. And the sad part about it, I tell people all the time, I don't knock a job because we all have to work them, but I've been fortunate enough to have some type of get up and go about myself to not have to stay on one. So with that being said, if you're on a job, always keep in mind what job means. Join our business. Journey of brokenness. Just over broke. And like I said, I'm not knocking a job. So if you work one, keep working it, but also be working on your work. It's a difference between your job and it's a difference between your work. Your work is your purpose. Your work is something you get up and you're excited about. Like Dan is excited about developing products. He's excited about putting projects together, passion products. He's excited about this uncommon movement. My guy on here, Coach Clever, he's excited about this movement. Before we even logged on and I'm sitting backstage on this stream, he was excited to even set up. So that lets me know this is a part of his work. It's a part of his purpose. This is not a job to him. So people that are going on jobs or in jobs, understand and comprehend when you get off, start working towards your passion. Start putting 2 to 4 hours towards your purpose. Start putting it towards something that's going to give you a sense of idea, like identity. People don't know. I tell people all the time, the reason that devil was able to trick Eve off the streets and make her manipulate Adam's because she didn't know her identity. She didn't know her purpose. So she was able to be fed something and she went and fed Adam something and made Adam go against God. And you know the whole story. So the thing is, it's because it's an identity crisis. When you know who you are and you know your purpose, you are worth it. Again, when you know your purpose, you're worth it, and you can put forth the best effort possible to be the best version of yourself. So if you're a man and you're overweight or you're out of shape, you don't know your identity. You don't know who you are. You don't know your purpose, because if you knew it, you'd understand that we are naturally what? Hunters. We are naturally 300 type of men. We are naturally somebody who get up, get out, and produce something. The Bible even lets us know that we're supposed to be fruitful and multiply. That comes with purpose. When you multiply something, McDonald's, they knew their purpose. They made that burger, they bought real estate, and they became the best-selling restaurant in the world because they knew their purpose and they were fruitful and they put a system together, which system means save yourself time, energy, and money. They saved themselves time, energy, and money to where they delegated and they became a monstrosity amongst restaurants in the burger industry. So I tell people all the time, because of fitness, I know my purpose. I'm stronger. I'm wiser. I'm a lot sharper.
I love that, Will. One of the things, a couple things that really came to my mind when you're talking, First, I'll just kind of go off of what you're talking about, knowing your purpose. That's one of the big things that I'm passionate about with Uncommon. I really do believe that people don't know who they are. They don't know what they're capable of. They let other people tell them who they are. They let other people tell them what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I'm not getting into any religious beliefs or anything like that, but I'm of the belief that we all came from somewhere. It wasn't just born out of nothing. And unfortunately, we don't remember who we are. And I really think that's a big part of life, is to remember who we are, what we're capable of, and run with it. And so that's really the thing that we're trying to do. I loved other things that you were saying kind of in a different way, that almost everybody that you can imagine are professional manifestors. But, you hear about these ultra successful people talking about manifesting and this, that, and the other. And then everybody else is kind of thinking, oh, I don't really believe in that. That doesn't really work. But yet they're manifesting every single day the bad things. So when you were talking about, words matter, words do matter. And I've met so many people that are saying, let's say in a relationship, and they're just like saying, oh, I don't know. I don't really want to get that serious with a girl because they might cheat, or they might do this, or they might do that, or that. And then they finally find a girl, but in their mind, they're thinking all this stuff. And then what happens? They're like, oh, see, I told you she was going to do that. I knew this was going to happen. And it's like, yeah, you manifested it.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with all of these areas. And the other thing that I liked when you're talking about fear, and it made me think, I never saw this until recently, maybe within the last couple of years, when they're comparing the cows and the buffaloes. And they say when it storms, the cows run away from the storm. And what happens is they're staying in the storm a lot longer. Buffaloes run towards the storm. So they run towards the storm and they just go right through it. And it's like how you're saying when you're facing your fear. So the cows think they're getting away from it, but they're staying in it because they're moving in the same direction as the storm. The buffalo say, no, okay, bring on the storm. I'm going to go through the storm. And then they're not in the storm for very long.
Yep. And you know what else?
I saw a thing just today. I posted, I think it was Jerry Seinfeld. And he was talking about, I don't remember the exact comment, but it was this basic thing where he was saying, you know what? Everything goes by so fast. It's not going to be very long before nobody even knows who you are. And nobody knows any of this stuff that's happening. And we sit there and worry every single day about somebody who says something, bad about us on Instagram, or somebody sends a message saying, oh, how are you in health and nutrition being fat? Don't you even take the products, or this or that? And people let this get to their mind and let it drag them down. And it's like, you know what? None of that stuff even matters when you look at the big picture. And at the end of the day, who decides anything? We're the only ones that decide. You can't decide anything for me. You can try and influence me, but at the end of the day, it's my decision in what I do, how I do it, and those things. And so that's really the things that we're trying to push here and get out. So I just like to, when we hear a story, especially one as powerful as yours, just kind of go back and reiterate some of it so that people can really get these things that you're talking about, because so many things there. And another thing that I really had to, nobody really told me this, but I had to learn it because that whole concept of when things get hard, it's easy to quit. It's easy to give up. It's easy to make excuses. And so I had to get in my mind that, you know what, I'm going to keep going, because this is when most people quit. As soon as it gets hard, they quit. So I need to push through that if I ever want to have any form of success. Yes. And so I had to, just learn these basic skills that instead of looking at it like, oh man, I can't do it. I look at it as, you know what, this is where most people quit. I'm not going to quit. So I'm going to rise above it. And another thing is just how people talk to themselves. So I was listening to a guy the other day, and he was talking about fasting.
Yeah.
He was talking about, where people will fast and it's like, oh man, it's so hard. I feel hungry and this, that, and the other. And he said, you know what? What if that's what burning fat feels like? So instead of being like, I feel hungry, or I feel like this, what if that's what it feels like to burn fat? And then you just switch your mind and you're like, you know what? I feel like I'm burning fat right now. I feel and you start to like that, and you start to be like, man, let's keep this going. Let's burn it a little bit longer. Kevin James was on Joe Rogan, and he did 45 days with just water. 45 days. That's unbelievable, the mental strength that would take. And he said, most of the days weren't that bad, but there were always some bad days, sometimes 2-3 days in a row. But he said he just kind of felt like crap, and he was just like, man, I need to eat something. I need to do something. But he just like, he didn't. And then he woke up the next day, and he's like, you know what? I don't feel too bad. And I go another day. And he didn't even necessarily have the plan to start off and go 45 days, but he was just like, well, let's see what I can do here. And then I'm working with a guy on some social media campaigns who just did 40 days. And it seems impossible. It's like, how can you possibly go, 40 days, 45 days without food? And it's just those things that, we don't even know what we're capable of. The people that have seen what, David Goggins have done and read his books and stuff like that. And here's what I think is people read this and are like, oh man, this guy's amazing. It's unbelievable. But guess what? He's not the only person entering these races. And guess what? He's losing almost every one of those races. So there's all kinds of people that are doing it. They just all haven't written books and done the same types of things. And again, his story is amazing. I'm not taking anything away from his willpower. I heard him talk. It was actually last year, and we were in a it wasn't a stadium, more like an arena, probably like 7,000-8,000 people in that arena. And he said, if we all started running right now, do you think that anybody would keep going longer than you? He said, if that's the question, 100% not. There's not one person in this room that'll go further than I will. Now, if it's a race and it's 50 miles or it's 25 miles or it's 10 miles, there might be somebody that would beat me in a race of 10 miles or 15 miles or 20 miles. But if the whole goal is just the last one to stop loses, I'm not losing. I don't care who's in the room. I'm not losing. And I was just like, man, that's how life is. The only reason there's winners and losers is it's only if you have a time limit.
Wow.
There's no winner or loser if there's not a time limit. And that's why you have to adjust that mind that you win or you learn. When I was in wrestling, it was a sport that I really liked. I wasn't the best wrestler by any means, but one of my friends was phenomenal. And in fact, he was a 4-time state champion. And I think that wrestling is one of the hardest things to be a 4-time state champion, because a freshman beating a senior is not very likely in any sport. But so a 4-time state champion, but I wrestled him in practice. We were the same size going all the way from like grade school, junior high through high school, every single day. And I had to change my mindset. Instead of just like, oh man, he's way better, he beats me every single time. That was mostly true, but I learned so much. And so I had to get away from this winning and losing. And instead of just losing, I'm like, well, what can I learn? Let me just try and not get pinned. And if I got good enough that he couldn't pin me, I could beat almost everybody else in the state. And then I was like, well, okay, he beat me, let's go again. Okay, he beat me, let's go again. Let's see if I can go longer. And then all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 times I beat him. Then I started to realize, you know what? If I get in better shape than all these guys, especially the better guys, if I get in better shape, I'm going to have a good chance to win, because they almost always win so fast. So if I can learn not to get pinned right away, and I can get in really good cardiovascular condition, it's going to be a lot harder to beat me. Now that, again, I never did anything amazing, but it was a learning experience. And I used so many of those things to learn in other areas that, make all the difference in the world. But you had to come with this in business. The thing I love about it is there isn't a time limit. So you're not losing if you're learning. Now, when you're losing is when you keep on doing the same things over and over and over and making all the same excuses.
Insanity.
You're losing because you're not learning. But that's what I got from there. Clavon, let's go ahead and jump in. He basically covered so much of the stuff that we got
right. I know.
Through the last 5 things pretty quick, and I'll have you go ahead and fill it out.
I think we can breeze through, health and fitness, but we'll touch on it with some specifics. Lou. But I'll tell you, I have a couple of questions or comments based on your story, boy. You talk about being compelling. It really was. But Dan, I'm going to save my questions until we get to personal growth and development.
Okay. Well, let me do this then.
Yeah.
The first pillar that we focus on here with Uncommon, there's 5 things, Will. The first one is health. And when we're talking about health, we're talking about physical and mental. So you've already explained how that's a big part to you, but is there any books that you recommend, anybody that you follow on social media, on either the mental side or the physical side or both, just so you can kind of throw out some nuggets of somebody might want to go follow, listen to a podcast, follow on Instagram or social media, anybody that you recommend for physical fitness or for mental health?
Okay. I pretty much, it's going to sound crazy, but one of my main books that I read for everything is, and not to be religious, I read the Bible a lot. It might be like, well, what does that got to do with health and wellness? Well, one of the scriptures that's quoted, it says, make your body a living sacrifice. So you got to be tested. You got to be tried. It's got to go through the fire. You got to understand that our bodies are balls of clay. We're dirt suits. So this ball of clay can be molded. It can be shaped. It's in the potter's hand. And not to be biblical again, I just want to say the potter's hand. You are the potter. You're the potter. How do you want to mold your body? How do you want to shape yourself? So I take a lot of biblical principles, but outside of that, it was a book that I read that had nothing to do with fitness, and it was by Rick Warren, Purpose Driven Life.
Yes.
And my mom made me read that book when I was going through personal training school, when I was going through my gambling issues, when I was sliding down the wall trying to figure it out. She brought that book to me signed, and she wrote something inside of there to motivate me. And she gave me that book and I read it, and Purpose Driven Life really gave me more purpose. It let me identify things in health and wellness, that I never would have looked at. Fitness is not the act of just doing workouts. Fitness is the act of knowing. You got to know something. You got to learn something. You have to enhance yourself and your mentality. You have to earn it. You have to learn and earn. So those are the 2 things that I read. I read scriptural things, and I read Purpose Driven Life. Another guy that I like to follow is Andy Frisella.
Yeah, I like him also.
Our favorite guys. He's from St. Louis. He's from Missouri.
Yeah.
So I'm from St. Louis. So I watched the Supplement Superstore. I watched First
Yeah,
Form.
what an amazing story, the whole thing.
Yeah. And that was
First Form to what it is today.
Exactly. And I watched that. I seen it cultivate to where people were barely even knowing. People didn't even know that he owned both of them, to see it go from one store to a chain and big like that. So I followed him. Another person with fitness that I followed was the Guru of Abs. He was a well-known guy out of Atlanta. He's probably like 6'4". He was on like Love and Hip Hop or something like that back in the day. This guy's like 6'6". I mean, huge. Like, this dude was so huge. But every time I got on Instagram, man, he was, doing had Nike sponsorships and all kind of stuff going on. And I would follow that guy. And then it was another guy out of Atlanta called Mr. 2 Weeks Out. And he has the Loft facility in Atlanta, one of the biggest workout places that you can go to in Atlanta for boot camps and stuff like that. And one other person that I'm motivated by is my brother from another mother, Jamar, Mr. Go. If you ever followed Jamar, if you've ever witnessed Mr. Let's Go, this guy is his mentality and his work ethic is unmatched. Unmatched. I've never seen someone so dedicated to their craft when it comes to transforming their body or just going hard. I mean, this guy's knees are shot. He played in the NFL for a while, until his wife caught Crohn's disease. He has a powerful story. He left the NFL to take care of her and to nurture her back to health. And he did just that. So following him, being next to him every day, he was my business partner and everything, like crazy. So those are a few people that I look at when it comes to fitness.
Awesome. I love it. And Second one, Clavon, I'll just go really quick, and then we'll spend a little bit more time with you asking your questions, and we'll just go through this quickly. But we talk about financial literacy, and specifically, we focus on residual income, and so that would be like things you were doing in the park and having a gym, and the memberships, and the residual would come by owning the gyms and having the memberships and things like that. But anything that you would have to say about just financial literacy so that you can get out of just the only form of payment, going and working for somebody and getting paid, so you can start to get your making money and other things that pay you over and over and over on the work that you do, whether it's nutritionals or subscription based or rentals or any of those different types of things. Just anything that you could throw out there on financial literacy, 2-3 minutes.
Okay. Well, yeah. One of the first things that helped me generate a lot of revenue inside the gym was not my clients that I trained personally. It was boot camps. I learned the power of group and community. So one-on-one sessions didn't make me a lot of money. It was the boot camps where I could charge $250 or $300 for a month, and 3 sessions that would be 12 for the whole month that they would get with me. But I have 10, 15, 20 people inside these boot camps that paid $200-$300 for that hour. So I learned how to condense my time and to get my time back to where, as personal training, I was working, from sun up to sundown with one client every hour. So I cut out the one client an hour and I transitioned into boot camps. And then I upped my price for personal training because you have to pay for that time now because it's precious. So I made it valuable. What made me a lot of money outside of the boot camps and condensing my time and understanding the value of it was products. Once I found a product that I could sell, the first product that I sold in my gym was CoQ10. I started selling that, and it was, they were doing a whole phase about this product. So, and I think it was ashwagandha and some other stuff. So I started getting these herbs, and then next thing you know, I think it was a detox tea. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but a detox tea had came out, and I made more money with that detox tea residually than I did with boot camps, personal trainer, anything. That product moved when I didn't move. It moved when they didn't move. So I figured out a way to leverage that product and build a network amongst my clients. Actually, they were becoming distributors and they were moving. So I was generating revenue night and day, that mailbox money, from me learning the effectiveness of leveraging other people's time and gifts outside of my own. So if you want to make money, learn how to leverage other people's gifts. I think Warren Buffett once said that he didn't want 100% of his own efforts. He'd take 1% of 100 people's effort to get that 100. That's true. So make your money work for you. That's what residual income is all about. Leveraging other people's efforts and leveraging money to make money go out and bring back friends.
That's super awesome. That's super awesome. Dan, you got something on the close?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, the whole thing about this residual income is creating leverage.
Yep.
And leverage. And our goal, the reason we're so passionate about these two things, Will, is if people can control their health physically and mentally, and they can control their time, those are probably the two most valuable things that we have as human beings, other than our spirituality, families, and things like that. But if we're just looking at as an individual, our physical and mental health and our time are the two most valuable assets that we have, or three, depending on if you separate physical and mental, and they are a little bit different. There's some people in great physical condition that are struggling mentally. There's some people that are, have the mindset of a champion, but they're struggling with diet and stuff like that. Everybody struggles. Nothing's easy, but you got to embrace the hard. Appreciate that it's not easy. If everybody had a 6-pack, it wouldn't be that cool. and you know what? If you look at the time, if you go back far enough in history, when everybody was doing manual labor and stuff like that, the 6-pack wasn't what people wanted. People wanted to be fat because that was rich. They had the food. They had the luxury life. Everybody had the 6-pack, so it wasn't cool anymore.
In the streets, they call that the baller belly. You were a baller. They call it the baller belly. So that's crazy that you just
Hey, well, I guess me and Dan are balling.
got the baller belly.
Hey, listen, William, I just want to spend a minute with you, man,
Yeah.
on this third pillar, and I'm gonna pass it back to Dan to
Okay.
close out the show with pillar number 4 and 5. But again, I want everybody to catch the fact that the way it was designed was that health and fitness being a key, financial literacy being a key, and then these last 3 being the methodology, I guess, the substance on how to obtain them. So
Yeah.
your story just reeks personal growth and development for me. William, I think, I can relate to so much because just like you, I was raised in urban America by a superstar stepfather that I don't know where I would be today. I'm very grateful. Thank God my biological father, I love him from, the DNA, but my stepfather taught me what it was to be an entrepreneur, a man, understand history, self-love, and all that kind of great stuff. And my mom was my superhero. She was the my rock. Even to this day. So I can relate to that, and I just feel like coming from certain environments, it's going to be a personal growth and development and mentors that make the difference in your life. And I think when it comes to physical fitness, that takes a lot of mind strength as well. Especially if you're consistent. And so I'm listening to your story, bro. You closed out with something that was really serious about, having a child and being married and being separated, and the child probably being at an age where she seems like she, probably can mentally, handle it mentally and emotionally at an older age, but it's probably really tough still. And I want to know, what nuggets did you learn from your mom or from mentors or from the strength that you have being a fitness guru? What is translating for you to be able to handle this moment, to deal with separation? Because there's a lot of great men out here who are uncommon, who deal with things that no one knows about and maybe still be struggling with them. I've never seen a book about how to deal with a separation and how to deal with daughters watching. Talk to us about what you're pulling from to get through this.
Again, I go back to the foundation. What's so dope about this show, you have pillars. My pillars are, I think Dan probably heard me say them a few times in the past. I got something called EFFIT. I stand by it, and it means faith, food, fitness, focus, fellowship, and financial fortitude will make you a dominant force in life when applied right. So those are the pillars I think about going through anything. What is my faith like? Faith is the first substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. It's the foundation for everything we do. That means we have to believe. So going through this separation, I had to dig deep and lean on my faith. I had to lean on, a higher power, as we call it. I had to lean on some friends who were strong around me. Your circle of influence would be your insurance. I'll say that again. Your circle of influence will be your insurance and guarantee your success and guarantee your failure too. So who you're hanging around, what your network is like, who are the individuals that you can pull from and glean from. So I leaned on a few of my friends. I leaned on the creator. I leaned on the seeds, the gems that was implanted in me since day one, because adversity was not new to me. So going through the separation was another different level of adversity because it's more emotions attached to it. You've become one with somebody, as they say. So I tell people all the time, 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 really equals 1, because when 2 touch and agree, you become whole. When you put a link in a chain, all of those different links are individuals, but it makes one chain. So me becoming one with this woman, and then now I'm separated, I felt like I lost the link. And during that process, I had to really pray. I had to really fast. I had to go counseling. And don't be afraid to go to counseling. That's a part of personal growth as well and development, to get a perspective and see yourself sitting across from yourself. So like we're doing right now, this is a form of counseling too, because we're asking questions, getting answers, and we're reflecting and projecting out into the atmosphere. And then later on, you might catch a gem that you could use. So counseling was big for me as well. because
What did you learn from that? What would you say, like, the top thing from counseling? Why was it just to have somebody to,
it
like,
was a mirror,
vent
Dan.
to, that's not going to look down on you or argue with
No,
you? Or
for me, I don't care if how anyone looks at me. To be honest, I've grown out of that. So for me, it was a mirror. I got a chance to see my bullshit. I got a chance to hear it. I got a chance to sit in it. And I got a chance to see where the error in my ways was. A lot of times we point the finger and don't realize those other three pointing back at us. So as much as I want to say she did this or she didn't do that, I had to take accountability as a man, because a man is called to be the head. A man is called to set a certain standard. Even before Eve in the garden, he was called to name the animals and give instruction. He was a teacher. So me being a man, I had to understand and overstand and comprehend that I was supposed to be leading better. I was supposed to provide better. And I had to take accountabilities for those things. No matter what I wanted her to do, no matter if she didn't support, no matter if she didn't speak life into me, I still had to take accountability and speak it for myself. So I saw where I fell short thanks to a counselor being my mirror. A lot of people don't understand that when you go to counseling, those people are trained to mirror you. So if you go high, they go high. When you go low, they go low. And what I mean is, you say, man, I'm having a bad day, they're going to be like, man, yeah, you're having a bad day, but they match your energy. So therefore, you let your guards down. So any effective counselor or somebody that's talking and pouring into you, they know how to match energy. They know how to, they can empathize and sympathize with you, and they can mirror you. So that's what it was for me. It was a mirror to see myself. It was another, I could hear everything, but most importantly, outside of that counselor, I was unashamed. I didn't have any shame, because I've always been somebody who was open to share my transgressions, to share my story, because I understand that my mess is my message. Your mess is your message. You can't have message without me, mess, sage, and age. All four of those words are inside a message. It's me, mess, sage, and age. Well, what is sage? Sage is a season that you go through. It's a spice. You're going to have a spicy season in your life. You're going to have mess in your life. And the first root of that message word is me. So me, it all starts with you. If you want to win, you have to go within. So that's what counseling is about. That's what personal development is. Go within and realize it starts with me. And that's all that's what I did, Dan. And that's how I got through the marriage situation. I took accountability, and the things that I didn't do, I was okay with. And then I was thankful for it, because it was a lesson and a message, like I said, a method to the madness. And it was a message, a mess that turned into a message. Those trials made me triumphant. So I took a minute. I was stressed out, but at the same time, I found myself being thankful for another level of life, because I got a story to tell. So what's for you is not really for you. I'll say this again. A tree never eats its own fruit. It produces fruit for us to go pick it off. We get nourished by it. So anything we deal with in life is not for us. That's selfish. So when you're selfless, you become that tree that you produce. So anything that you produce, in good or bad, is for other people. So they have to glean from it. So make it worthwhile. So while I'm going through this situation, I still was training. I still was pouring into people. I still was being transparent about it. And it helped me as well as others, because it gave me a level of accountability, and I could see myself again. So don't wallow in the madness and mess. Don't be a pig and lick it up after you throw it up. No, release it, give it to God, give it to whoever you serve, give it to yourself if that's you, whatever you do, but you have to release it. Don't bottle it in, because it will crush you. So that's the tip that I could give anybody with marriage that's going through that type of devastating time. Find a good network, find good people, find something to read, go to counseling. Don't be ashamed. It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to birth you. It's going to give you a rebirth. So that's what I suggest for everybody.
I love it. My favorite thing there, Clavon, is just learning the lesson to take responsibility. Even if there was things that somebody else did, regardless, you still got to take responsibility. and we got to take responsibility for what we do, what they do, what we accept, and all of those things. So I love how you put that to it. Regardless if they did things right or wrong, we can't control that.
Right.
We have no control over what somebody else does. We only have control over what we do. And what makes relationships so hard is we're spending all of our time and all of our effort trying to control them instead of just controlling ourselves. And if we'd control ourselves in a better way, they'd probably control themselves in a better way.
Yep.
But it's this constant power struggle with the people that you're supposed to be one with. I loved a lot of the things that you said there. It's like if you have a chain and the chain's fighting against each other, it's problems. And
what just dropped in my spirit when you said that, Dan? People don't understand how rust works. So if a chain is connected to another chain, but that chain is rusty, it contaminates all of the other links.
Yeah.
It's kind of like gangrene. So you have to decapitate and get rid of the issue right away. It's like putting bad fruit in a bag of good fruit. It's going to rub off on everything else and contaminate the whole bag and make it rotten. So with your marriage and your relationships and business and personal life, you have to get rid of the things that's going to contaminate or rust. You have to remove them. And if that's you got to go to counseling. You got to seek therapy if you're the one that's causing the contamination. So you have personal development is 24/7. It's every day. It's all day. It's constantly learning and evolving so we don't contaminate other people and we don't rust and affect people in a negative way.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on that, Clavon?
No, that was really huge. I mean, Dan, I'm gonna let you close us out, and I would usually ask this last question at the end, but just a quick one, a little before I pass it back.
Yeah.
Just really quick, because I just want to know, how would you like to be remembered? It's really a closeout question, but it's personal growth and development. This is going to close out pretty fast, but I'm looking at you as someone who's been through everything. What a wonderful story. Trials, tribulations, a lot of pain points. Every time you fell, you got up, you learned a lot. Versatile life story. And I see where you are with mindset. One of the top guests I've ever heard speak about personal growth and development. You've definitely developed yourself. But through serving and training others, is that the end deal, or what is the impact you want to be remembered for, your legacy?
Oh man, I got emotional thinking about how to say this to you. It's probably not a traditional answer, but I want to be known as the enhancer. I want to be known as somebody who everything he touched turned to gold. I want to leave a legacy of making things better than I found it. That's been my gift since birth. If I come into a room, I make the room brighter. If I walk in a club, I turn heads. A lot of people don't understand the power of just being a genuinely good person. So if my legacy is to be left that my daughter and anybody else could pick up, is to be a person of light, be a person that wants to see people moods and mindset shift. So I'm an enhancer. So my whole legacy is about enhancing any and everything around me. I want it to be better. If you're going through a bad day, I want to be the person to give you an encouraging word. So when people remember me, they'll know, like, man, Will made me smile. Lou means lifting others up. That is my legacy. That's my brand. That's what I live every day, lifting others up. And that means I want them to go from A to Z, not A to B. I want them to transform all the way across the board. So I'm a transformational person, coach, mentor, whatever you want to call me, but always remember me as somebody who enhanced everything that he touched for the better.
I love that. That's perfect. Sorry, Clavon, go ahead. I just wanted to say, one of the things that we've really been talking about a lot lately, Will, was always leave them better. And it repeats. If I make a goal when I have interaction with somebody that I always want to leave them better, make them smile, give them a compliment, do something, then I always leave them better. Does that make sense? If
Uh,
I'm doing everything I can to leave them better, I'm going to leave them as a better person also. And so I love what you're saying. That's kind of the perfect thing of the enhancer, enhancing everything.
yeah,
Everything that comes, I want to leave it better.
man, I appreciate you guys, man. This has been powerful.
Very powerful, bro. Very powerful.
The fourth thing, quick, because you've
Mhm.
already done a lot of things on this. Accountability. Accountability is what kind of holds it all together. I always say that you can't have accountability without a system,
Yeah,
because there's nothing to hold them accountable to. And people aren't self accountable. Some people are. You develop self accountability, and if you look at most of the people that become uncommon, they do become accountable to themselves. They make agreements with themselves that they keep. They make promises to themselves that they keep. But the majority of people, including myself, really struggle with keeping promises to ourselves. Meaning, we say we're going to do this, we say this, and typically, if somebody lies to you all the time, they never keep their word. They always do this. It's a person that you wouldn't like, and yet we do that to ourselves every Monday, every January 1st, every month, when you're always saying, okay, I'm going to focus on this, I'm going to do this. And then you do for a little while. And it's crazy that we'll keep promises to others way more than we keep the promises to ourselves. So I always say, if self accountability was strong enough, if people had self respect, way more people would be successful. But since they don't, there has to be some sort of system and some sort of accountability. Clavon's used the example, and you can probably reiterate this because of your experience in the service. If the Air Force and the Marines and the Army and the Navy didn't have accountability, we wouldn't be the nation that we are. You have to be accountable. If they didn't have systems, they wouldn't be. Just like McDonald's. You said I loved your when you explained what a system is. So just give us a few minutes on accountability. And I try and point out that accountability, you have to either tell somebody your goals, your dreams, what you want, so that they can hold you accountable to. There has to be a system that you can hold accountable to, or there's got to be some decision that you've made in order for accountability to take place.
Okay. Accountability. It's crazy you said that. I struggle with accountability for myself a lot. You know, when you're a giver and you're serving at a high capacity, or you're just naturally, like you said, wanting to leave things better, uh, you give so much of yourself that you really don't have much to give to your own self on your own time, because it's hard to get our cup refilled a lot too, because we're so busy pouring into others. It's like that part of our calling. So one of the things I do for accountability as of lately is taking the time to decompress, sit still, and it's another parable. Peace be still. Peace be still, and know that I am God. And I sit still. That way I can really hear. And accountability is another word that has two things in it. You have account, and then you have ability. Ability, are you willing and able? Your abilities are your gifts, talents, and abilities again. And the account is like banking. You have to make a ledger with yourself. What are you putting into it? It's like they say it takes a village to raise a kid. That means you're pouring into. So I take accountability when it's time to sit still and write my vision out, and to start planning better for the future, or what my next task will be. Because if I don't sit still, I can't hear. I can't really process what I need to be doing. So I really throw in a lot of motivational stuff. I really throw on some Miles Monroe. That helps me with accountability. That's one of the main people throughout my personal development that I listened to in the world, was Miles Monroe. His kingdom principles and things of that nature. He was just a great teacher in that area. And I listened to Myron Golden as well.
Oh, he's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, Myron Golden is like a modern day Miles Monroe to me. And so I listen to him a lot as well. And his thought process is similar to what I have, how I feel about life. So I use people for accountability, to be honest. So if I can't be accountable to myself, if I say for instance, I come on here and I tell you, hey Dan, I'm gonna come on and do this podcast, and you're like, all right, we gotta start at 9 o'clock. I need you on here 5 minutes early. I gotta set my alarm now because I know in my mind, like if I don't set my alarm, I'll get caught up in life or serving that I will accidentally forget to be on here at 9 o'clock. So my alarm clock became my accountability partner. And then you messaging me and you texting me saying, hey, we're going to be on, 15 more minutes or whatever. That reminder was accountability too. So I tell people, you got to plan. You either plan to fail by not planning, or you plan to win and prevail by putting a plan there. Even in the good book, it tells you that, to plan. It tells you to, write the vision and make it plain. So if we're not writing that vision, if we're not making it plain, a lot of times you can't manifest or get what you want out of life because you never made it clear for yourself. So we got to give clear-cut instructions to ourselves and be the alarm clock for ourselves, and then have other people be that alarm clock and that wake-up call, so to speak, because a lot of times you can't shape up if you don't have something around you holding you to the fire and taking account of your actions. So it's the people and it's the things that I take in, that I read and I listen to on a day-to-day basis, and that voice inside of me as well. More importantly than anybody that you ever listen to, that voice inside of you telling you, hey, you got to shape up. Hey, you could do this better. Hey, this, that, and the third. We all hear it. Many of us ignore it, but you hear it. So that voice inside of you that's telling you to do this, that, and the third, listen to that voice. Come familiar with that voice. Sit in a silent place, whether it's the car, the bathroom, or shower. Sit somewhere and just listen to that voice. And you probably never heard this before, but that voice is telling you something about yourself. And if you keep having the same thought when you sit still, if you keep revisiting the same thing, even if it's bad, that's something that the voice is telling you to fix, that you need to be held accountable for. So listen to the voice, surround yourself with like-minded or greater people, and listen to things that are nourishing to your inner man that will take you to a whole nother level. That's accountability right there.
For sure. I love it. And the last thing we focus on is to me one of the most important, and it's giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started, getting in business and having financial goals and stuff like that, my definition of success was really just kind of making a lot of money and having things and experiencing things. And then when I first started doing that, and I realized that, man, I'm still having bad days. I still have a bunch of problems, because I thought, man, life would be so awesome if I had all this money and I could buy this stuff and do these things. And I started to realize that there's a song, and it's not like I follow Justin Bieber a ton, but there's a song that he had that I heard that he talks about, what do you do when you have everything that you've always wanted and you're still not happy, or you're still sad, or whatever. I don't know the exact words, but it always came to me. It's like, man, the problem is when people are just chasing the money, it's never going to be enough, because it's never going to fulfill. So I literally changed my entire definition of success just to happiness. Meaning, if you're working a job, somebody else making, just barely enough to get by, but you love your wife, you love your kids, you're happy, that's a success. You have a multi-billionaire that's on his 8th wife. He's got 13, 14, 16 kids, doesn't even know half of his kids and all of that. That, in my definition, would be a failure. And so one of the things that I think continually keeps people grounded and keeps them going is giving back. And I've got to the point, I still like to try and make money, and I like to have cool things, but you get to the point that it's almost more fulfilling seeing somebody else get that when they've made it the goal and the drive, and they want to go on this trip. There's a lot of trips that I've gone on that I want to take somebody that's never been there, just so I can show them these areas, and I get more joy of them seeing it than just me going back.
Yeah.
And so giving back, something that I'm super passionate about, because it keeps me grounded, it keeps me excited, and I just love to just see the people smile and see the people believe in themselves and see the people be like, man, you know what? I can do this, and start to remember who they are. And so that's one of the things that we really focus on. And just hearing your story, obviously you give back, having the concept, hey, I'm going to train people for free. And all of these things also, a lot of times it goes in a circle, and you start giving back and it comes back to you. A couple of people I follow on TikTok, Instagram, and stuff like that. One of them is a guy that goes and looks for the most rundown yards that he can see. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy.
Yeah,
Knocks on their door, and he asks if he can clean up their yard for him for free.
Yep.
And people are like, what's going on? But they don't realize the views he's getting and the time that people are watching. He's making so much more money doing it for free than he would if he was charging people $300, $400, $500 or even $1,000.
Yep.
And then there's another one that just goes and asks people if he can give them a haircut, and he just kind of interviews them and picks their brain while he cuts their hair. And
Yep.
he's making more money than the top barbers because of his social media now has millions or tens of millions of subscribers. These guys are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them hundreds of thousands a month. And so it just kind of shows that whole giving back, things come back to you. And now with social media, it's even bigger because people are literally doing things for free and making more than all of the people that are charging people for the same things.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very true. In law of reciprocity, you got good and bad karma. People don't realize. Yeah. Look at karma in such a negative way because the way people use it, like, oh yeah, you're gonna get it. But no, that's good karma. That's good harvest. There's good seed. It speaks about laying your seed on fertile ground. So when you plant seeds, man, you're going to reap a harvest. And look at the two words, you're giving back. So when you give, it comes back. Back is behind giving for a reason. It's gonna happen for you. It's gonna come back to you. So like I said, I'm big on wordplay, man. You just look at it. Giving back. What are you getting back? You giving back what you gave. So whatever you put out there into the universe, whatever you pour into people, whatever you think about as well, because it's not even what you say out of your mouth too. It's how you think, because you get a direct reflection of how you feel as well. So if you're feeling piss poor throughout the day and you're projecting that out, you're going to get piss poor people around you and interacting with you throughout the day. So, man, giving back is a very, very powerful thing. And like I said, the law of reciprocity, Newton's law that we learned in school, third law, what it says, for every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. So I have to think about those principles. Like, man, if I do this, I'll just say something wild. If I slap you, I can't tell you how to respond to me. You might give me a slap back, or you might punch me out. You might do something extreme. You might hurt me worse than what I gave you. So you're going to get it. So I practice giving back all the time. I'm separated, like I said. I just moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, where I'm at right now, in January, New Year's Day. New Year's Eve, I packed my suitcase. I was homeless, living in and out of hotels for months. Like I had picked up that gambling habit again, trying to figure it out due to the separation. I told you I was going through a lot, and I had to go to therapy and all of that. And one of the things, while sitting in a hotel, I decided that I was going to move. I needed something that was fresh. I needed a fresh start. So when I first got to Little Rock with my 2 suitcases, I was living in hotels here as well before I got my own apartment. And I stayed with a few friends for a few days, no longer than a week or 2. But it was mostly me figuring it out. So one of the things I did to get myself all the way out of the hump during this separation, I started a free boot camp in Little Rock, Arkansas, downtown at the Clinton Presidential Library by the river. And people started coming out to my loop camp. It was Lifting Others Up camp. And people were starting to come out to that boot camp, and it gave me a sense of purpose again. It gave me something that I ended up going through a situation here to where I couldn't pay my rent one time because I couldn't land a job right away. I didn't have a car. So my rent got behind, and guess what? Because I was giving back, somebody paid my rent. somebody came and gave something to me. Somebody did something that I wasn't expecting. And then people started tipping again. So I'm reliving this thing again because I truly love to help people. I truly love to serve. So whatever you find yourself doing, make sure that it's positive and nurturing and cultivating and for the better, because you're only going to get that back times 10. You know what the guy said, give you double for your trouble. So find yourself doing something constructive, man, because you can only get back better. It gets greater later.
Yeah, I love it. Clayvon, anything to add, give back, any closing words, questions?
Well, this was amazing. I just want to ask you, William, we don't play no games on Uncommon Men. You know, this is big boy. This is a big boy platform. So
Yes, sir.
have you, since you've been, you know, New Year's, symbolic time frame, you know, new beginning, moving to Little Rock, Arkansas. So have you conquered, you know, I think the gambling came back as probably a reflection of the stress dealing with, you know, the separation. But since you've been in Little Rock, have you continued that pattern, or have you conquered that?
I conquered that, man. It only took me one time to lose again. And I was like, no, I can't keep going down that road.
Because if you didn't conquer it, this episode would be the #1 case study in the history of the world. Because I haven't heard many people outside of the legends speak about mindset and personal growth and development and discipline and character and perseverance better than you. And then I'd have to know, you'd be the perfect example of knowing the information and not and unfortunately maybe, you know, being stuck, not living it. I'd want to dive deeper into that, because you would probably heal thousands of people with your testimony. But if you finally conquered that, it makes sense, because you know you're the man to do it. You're an uncommon man, and you know you're very wise, very smart, very strong. You know, I'm sure physically, but mentally and spiritually. People might have missed it, but theology school, you paid your dues and everything, brother. And you come from real strong stock. So we're proud of you and very happy that you've conquered that. I call it a demon, you know, because gambling addiction is a disease, you know. And good for you. And thank you for being on the episode. Thank you for being with us.
I appreciate it, man. It's been an honor and a privilege to speak to the people and to share my story and, you know, give my higher power the glory through it all. And appreciate you, Dan, for reaching out and allowing me to jump on the Uncommon platform, because I'm definitely an uncommon guy, still growing and going. And
I love it, man. And thank you so much. This is just, we always ask that question at the end on the giving back, but every single person we have on here, we already know they give back, because you just gave your most valuable asset, hour and 40 minutes of your time. Absolutely incredible nuggets. The thing I love about living right now in this time and really embrace it, and so grateful for it, is just like the ability to put these out on the internet that can be here 5 years, 10 years and stuff like that. And what a blessing it is. And now you have your 12-year-old daughter in 10 years will be able to go back and listen to her dad for an hour and 40 minutes, just dropping nugget after nugget after nugget, and realize she already knows, but realize what an amazing person. And that's something that I always kind of think, man, I wish that I could go back and watch my dad do something like this, but it didn't have YouTube and the internet back in the time. So I think it's important to put this information out to other people can see it, and you never know who it's going to touch, what it's going to do. And so, you know, we're just keeping this thing going, and we're not breaking any records with it, but it doesn't matter if we have 10 viewers or 10 million viewers. We're going to have a 32nd episode and a 320th episode and a 3000th episode, because it's just the concept of going out there, giving back, and literally trying to see, can we create a brand that has only one goal, to help people. We have one goal, to provide opportunity, uplift everybody. And I love that, Lou, you know, lift up, what is it? Lifting
others up.
Yeah. Lifting others up.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that's really what Uncommon is designed to do, is lift others up. And in order to do that, you have to have opportunity. So we provide the opportunity with it, and just say, hey, bottom line, we're going to create a brotherhood that we want every single person to be happy. And we don't, everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. Everybody doesn't have to make thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a month or a day or a week, but they still need the certain skill sets, because everybody's going to have tough days. Everybody's going to have tough times. Everybody's going to have, the seasons are going to happen. It's not going to be perfect. And you have to have, the ability to deal with those and move on. And that's what we want to do, is we want to give people a tool set that when the bad stuff in life happens, or the good stuff, you can get derailed by the good stuff just as easy as the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I've ran into it myself, and I've seen other friends, things start going really good. And then all of a sudden they start getting, super cocky, and they start spinning crazy, and they start getting into drugs and girls and things that they never had the opportunity to do before. So it was never a problem. And you have all these other people that see them, and especially these professional athletes and Tiger Woods and stuff like that you've seen their issues. And it's like, yeah, you could say you'd never do that because you never have the opportunity to do that. But if you have all the money in the world and everybody wanting some of your time, and then all of a sudden things that you never would have done, you start doing. And so it's not just when things are going bad, it's also when things are going great that we want people to be grounded and give back and have that strong mindset and remember who they are. Because something that's going great, you can turn that into bad. Something that's going horrible, you can turn that into good.
Yeah.
So bad doesn't stay bad unless you let it stay bad, but good doesn't stay good unless you let it stay good.
No, that's true. That's very true, man. I would be remiss if I didn't say this before we ended, with this being the Uncommon Man show, just uncommon in general. There might be women listening to this too. Affirmations. Speak life to yourself. I sent you a video the other day, Dan.
Yeah, I love that video. I have a brand that I'm launching that's just all about, can we actually take a toothpaste and make it the strongest mental wellness company in the world? And it's all about the affirmations. And so I actually sent it to Clavon, and I said, and then Clavon said, man, this is exactly how we need to launch the toothpaste. We need to get like 100 people doing these videos in the morning and at night. The only thing I need is you to brush your teeth right before that, put your tube of toothpaste down with all the affirmations, then say your affirmations and go for your run.
Yep, that's it. That's it, man.
And then do the same thing at night and go to bed on your pillow that has all the affirmations on your pillow after you've brushed your teeth and said your nightly affirmations.
Yeah, man. What made me do that, and not going to take a minute's time, but what made me do that is that's what's been keeping me through a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with and growing through. And I like to say this to people: don't say that you're going through anything. Say you're growing through it. Speak those things that aren't as though they are. It said when you pray as though it's already happened. And people say, oh, that's faking it till you make it. But no, the word believe has lie in it. You got to be the lie. Believe has lie in it. So become the lie. And guess what? You stand on that, and it will become he'll give you the desires of your heart. So these are real principles. So when you're speaking to water, they've done studies of water actually,
amazing,
doing some amazing things because it was spoken to properly. Plants
also. Water and plants.
They stand up when you speak life to something, man. So like I said, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So if you're a common man, you wouldn't get that. But for all the uncommon men, you got to know speaking life is very, very important. So what I say to myself every day is, I am strong. I am courageous. I am thankful. I am grateful. I am dominant. I'm a lion. Through my words, I triumph. I am king. So I lead and I soar as an eagle. I am purpose. I am worth it. I am opulent. I am prosperous. I am healthy. I am wealthy, attractive, magnetic. Anything I want, I have it. I don't say I get it. I claim it. I claim the victory over every situation and circumstance, because if you don't feel like you have it, if you don't feel like it's attainable, it will never show up for you.
I love it. What a perfect way to end. Go ahead and close us out, Clavon.
I'll tell you what. I hope you guys are picking up what was put down tonight. Next week, we're going to do it again. I want to thank our guests. It was an honor to have you here, brother. Listen, guys, on YouTube, Uncommon Men Global, the number 1%, okay? Subscribe. Help us grow. And we're going to continue to serve and do what we do best. We will be back next week with another episode of Uncommon Men. Hey, guys, we came, we saw, we conquered. Thank you for joining us. We're out of here.
Let's do it.
That was awesome.